Hello viewers and welcome to this very special GT Academy interview with Jann Mardenborough. I've been following the GT Academy for the last few years. I visited in 2010. You can see a few photos here I took when I was at Silverstone, and I also had the opportunity to interview Johnny Herbert and Sabine Schmitz, as well as two of the British hopefuls who were going for it at the time. Jump now to 2013 and I'm at the O2 in East London, seeing some of the wildcard players having a go, seeing if they can find a way to sneak into that final under pressure driving, all taking place on the day. And while that was taking place, of course, I had a few words with Jann and perhaps a few tips for drivers in the future as well. It's interesting, and also I think what this raises a point is when we're finding drivers with the talent of Jann, it legitimises the idea of this project in the eyes of motorsports people as well as the games industry. It really is a great step forward. But let's find out first a bit more about Jann. Hello viewers, well now I'm joined by 2011 GT Academy winner Jann Mardenborough. Jann, thanks for your time today. So first I'd like to go back to finding out your favourite racing games. Where did racing gaming start for you?
I mean, racing games started for me back, I say when I was about 7 or 8 years old. Original PlayStation 1, and the story is quite weird actually. My parents had some friends across the street from us, and I used to go over there a few times a week. And they used to have Gran Turismo 1 on there, and I used to be over there so often that my friend's parents gave the game and the console to me to play, to keep, and that was the first game I ever played on the first console. So yeah.
And so you've kept playing games through the PS2, PS3, and then finally the GT Academy came along. Did you try earlier GT Academy events? Was that the first time you'd really gone for it?
I could have entered GT Academy in 2010 actually, when Jordan Tresson won, but I didn't. I don't know why I didn't actually. I think I was still in school doing my GCSEs or A levels, so I don't think it was wise to enter at that time, considering that it was my future. So yeah, the first time entering was 2011.
So 2011 then, you've made it to the GT Academy final. The pressure, the judges, the physical side, the PR side. How was it for you? What was the experience?
God, it was absolutely fantastic, the whole experience. I mean, looking back at it, you're under so much pressure. But at the time, because there's so much going on, you sort of zoned out. You're just sort of there at Silverstone. There's press, there's people, there's instructors, there's all the things, all these fancy cars around you, and you're just sort of, I was just sort of zoned out and just focusing on what I needed to do next. But looking at it now, yeah, it was an intense 6 days at Silverstone, because if you don't perform, you're out, and your dream is there and you're here, and it's just such a small gap bridge to your dream, and it was tough.
You know, I always find it interesting, because I think it's like a mental process really. You've learnt how to play the game, then you get in the real car and you feel the G-force and the impact for the first time, the excitement from that, and then you go beyond it and you use your skills that you know you have and you develop them further. Was there a mental mindset to get through as well in that initial stage?
Yeah, there is a mental aspect to overcome. I mean, obviously you can be really fast on the game, and then you could be, maybe you think you're fast in real life in a real car, but then you've got that side of your brain whereas real life, if you crash, it's going to hurt, and there's that side that you have to sort of shut off as well. So yeah, there's more pressure in real life than compared to a one-lap flyer on a game. But yeah, there is a lot of there is a big mental aspect to a racing driver. Now,
you went away, you've got your first season, you've got the physical training, the driver training, taking the skills you have to the racetrack. Tell me about that experience and about how your gaming skills converted to the real thing.
Yeah, arriving at a race weekend, it's a big rush. The first race weekend I had was at Pembrey in a Group N spec 370Z. So slick tyres, sequential gearbox, and I was on the grid, and lots of people asked me the same question before actually racing, starting the race. Oh, how are you going to deal with this? There's real racing drivers beside you in real cars wanting to win, and you're racing alongside them for the first time. And I was just sort of like, oh, I don't know, I haven't done it yet, I don't know what to expect. So, and then you just get on with it, and I just treated it the same way as I would in a fast fast player online session on GT5, and sort of respect what you have to, take what you can, give what you have to, and sort of that way worked. And I mean, there's elements, say, in qualifying that you take from the game on, say, fresh set of slicks that you can use in real life. And it's hard to explain, but certain things you do, you can replicate on a really fast lap in real life. So
I suppose again that takes me to a point where you've got the physical training, you've got the physical feeling of being there, but you've also got to get used to, you've been a very visual driver to that point. You've had to visually look at the grip. Now you're feeling tyre temperature, you're feeling brake temperature. You've had to do a lot of laps generating that experience. What's that process like? How long does that take for you to really convert and begin to become one with the car?
That process takes quite a long time, especially in single-seaters, whereas bring it back to the GT side of things, that's an element where at first it can help you, because what I found on the games, well, my rig anyway, I don't have one that moves and vibrates, and so having the car move around and vibrates underneath you was an added sensation that actually helps you, because you can feel the car more. It gets a bit weird to get used to at first. It's like, well, what does this mean? Okay, that means that, and it's a bit like trial and error. And yeah, of course, you have to learn how to bring in tyres properly, manage brake wear, mechanically sympathetic to gearboxes, and it gets amplified a hell of a lot in single-seaters in Formula 3, where there aren't tyre warmers, and they're literally the tyres in qualifying, then you have a 2-lap peak, and you have to get the peak, you have to know how far to push, but you can't push over it, because it's so difficult, and that's something that you can only get from experience. So that's about mileage, but raw talent, racecraft, that's something that you can learn from the game as well. So that helps you. But for sure, there's a lot of small building blocks you have to get after winning GT Academy as well.
That's interesting. So before we get to Le Mans this year and the experience of that, take me through some of the race highlights and the championship highlights you've had since becoming a GT Academy champion.
Some of the race highlights I'd had, I would say Dubai was probably a big highlight as well. 2012, finished third, second 24-hour race. First international race. That was a big experience. And another one as well was last year, Brands Hatch, British GT, and then Nissan GTR, Nismo GT3, finishing first win with Alex Buncombe, and that was fantastic feeling to be #1 for a race. It's just an amazing feeling. Quite recently as well, at Silverstone British Formula 3, finishing third, and get my first points in FIA European Formula 3 as well, finishing 8th at Silverstone as well, and getting points for the first time. That was a big moment as well.
Great success for such a short amount of time. I think Brands Hatch, one of my favourite circuits. You don't get the gradients on TV that you meet when you're in real life. How late you can brake for some of those corners is fantastic. Takes me straight to Le Mans, really, though, the big challenge it's been for you this year. Take me through that whole experience.
Le Mans was absolutely fantastic. There's a lot of work to do, and I had Michael Crum and Lucas Ordonez with me, and Michael, I think it was his 6th time doing it that time, and he sort of sat me down before, actually at the start of the weekend, to say there's a lot of stuff you have to do, so make sure you don't go flat out doing lots of PR things, because you're going to be absolutely drained for the start of the race. But I had enough energy to sort of do everything and still be sort of had a big smile on my face and just taking in the whole atmosphere. And there's so many people there. I mean, we arrived there on the the Sunday, so the week before the actual race, and on the Monday there was so many people in the pit lane. We were prepping the cars ready for testing, and there's like hundreds and thousands of people in the pit lane already, and they're so passionate. And whoever goes to Le Mans is a real car fan, watches motorsport, and has a real drive for the sport, and I respect that. And it's really nice to be in a crowd of people that has the same thought process and passion for their sport. So, and yeah, the actual race in itself is amazing. There's something special driving on the Mulsanne with painted lines, road markings at 300 kilometers an hour in the dark, with just you on the track, and it's just sort of like, oh, this is amazing. I can't believe I'm here.
What was the kind of training though? I mean, did you do a lot of simulation before the event? Did you drive around the circuit? you know, talking about learning the braking points, learning the ideas on weather changing. There must be experience and stuff like that you get given. What kind of guidance do you get before Le Mans? What kind of training?
There's some guidance you can use. At the game GT5 actually is for some guidance. We have our own sim as well at Silverstone, which I used as well. But I felt that for the night practice, I was on the game GT5 in the dark, and sort of the references that you use for brake markers and trees, sometimes the trees are a bit weird sometimes because they can be chopped down, so you might not be there the same when you actually arrive there, but certain stuff like that you can use in real life, and just a general feel for how it feels like just to have a blinkered view, just lights there, it's pitch black there, so it does help. Teammates, Michael Cromie's been there 6 times, 5 times before for this year, and there's a lot of tarmac changes, so you have second chicane, entering the second chicane, there's a lot of grip, and then there isn't a lot of grip at the apex of the tarmac changes, stuff like that you need to know about at entering Arnage, one of the slippiest corners in the world. And our engineer Ricardo, who's been Formula One's in the 70s, he said, when it's wet, brake early, and even when you think you're braking early, brake even earlier for that corner because it's so slick. General things like that, curbs you can use, curbs you have to stay off, entering the forward chicane or going through Porsche curves.
The direction change in the Porsche curves, it's always, you know,
it's absolutely fantastic. It takes some building up to get used to it. Actually take the first part of it's, I think it's 5th gear, a little rub on the brake down from 6th, and then you're entering at 240k, and then the next left is flat, and the next left was flat in the race only after about 5 laps when the fuel burnt down a little bit, even on brand new slicks. That's flat. And the next right's just a little bit of rub on the brake, and then the next one is just a lift, and then you're on your way. And it's sort of like, oh, look at this, it's mega. It's such a good feeling. But you have to build up because the walls, there's no runoff. If you run wide, you're in the barrier. And there's like that much grass, then the barrier, and it's a proper track.
Well, that's the ultimate pressure event, has to be said, as far as the challenge is concerned. Now, of course, back to your future, Formula 3. What's going to be in the future for you in terms of racing? What's the target now? Well,
I'd love to stay in single seaters for one. Of course, I like in the Le Mans prototypes and the GT racing as well. But I feel Formula 3 and single seaters in general, it's the best place for me to learn and develop as a driver. Which is what Nissan want me to do, and it's what I want as well. So yeah, I'd love to reach the top of my sport, and that would be Formula 1. That would be the ultimate goal. I mean, nobody entering single-seaters or racing wouldn't want to say that their ambition is to reach the top. So that would be my personal ambition. I mean, regards to the future, it's all up to Nissan, well, to me as well, but for Nissan, they direct my program, and whatever I'll be in the future, I'll be happy as long as I'm racing. As long as it's not NASCAR, I'm happy whatever car I'm in.
Well, brilliant, Jan. Thank you very much for your time. Best of luck for the future.
Cheers, thank you.
Cheers. An interesting opportunity there to learn a little bit about Jan from his gaming background right through the racing adventures over the past few years and looking to the future. But that wasn't it. We had a chat off camera, and in part 2 we'll have more to add on to this interview, as well as a few tips about the gaming as well. So check out the part 2 of this interview for more.